one thing I remember in particular with your class is, and I think still is, obviously, since you are now working together, is the camaraderie that came. It is still one of the classes that I think still connects with each other and is still a big part of each other's lives. Can you guys talk about that experience?
Yeah, we were all really close. How many were in our class? 21,
22?
I think. Yeah.
We lost.
Yeah, I think it was 22 in the end.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I always thought every class was like that. So it's interesting to hear. I mean, we certainly felt special. We had such...
Every class is special.
Okay, I'm sure.
But we really were.
We really were. No, I mean, I don't know so much about the other classes, but we had people from all walks of life. I mean, there was students right out of college. There was pretty dramatic career changes. Some that were, somewhat IT related, and then others where they were a farmer. We had so much to offer and so much to learn from each other. And I think boot camp grads tend to be more, sometimes more outgoing people. And we definitely had an outgoing, fun social group. And we've done good at staying in touch. We used to have reunions a couple times a year. I think we're due one.
Yeah, we'll have to reach out to everybody after this.
Yes.
But I also think there were a couple of people in particular in our class that made a point of being vulnerable. There was one guy in particular who was like, a lot of this doesn't make sense to me. So I'm just going to put myself out there and ask the question. And, we were all really grateful to him for that because he wasn't afraid of making a fool of himself. And he wasn't making a fool of himself by asking questions. But,
right.
As an adult, I think going back into school, it's a very challenging space to be in. It's hard to be a learner as an adult. And it takes a lot of humbling yourself to do this thing that's really hard. And so I'll always be grateful to him because he kind of showed us all it's okay to ask the hard questions and slow the teacher down when things don't make sense. And he also really encouraged us to be social. He was one of the driving factors in us going to happy hour after class and really getting to know each other outside of the context of the classroom.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting point. I think in general, the education system grooms us that admitting that you don't know something is a really bad thing and not something that you want to do. And I think that in software development in general, that you have to be able to do that. And so it's not just a valuable tool in the education system, but also in the workplace to be able to say, hey, I don't know how to do this.
Yeah.
And understand the different steps to figure out to get to a place of knowledge.
Absolutely.
But that's great to have that kind of environment where you're able to be vulnerable. I think is so important.
It was good though. I mean, I think Alan, he was our instructor at the time, he made a point to not just feed us answers because that's not going to happen. I mean,
right.
You should communicate and be honest and say that you don't know in the workplace, but at the same time, you have to be able to communicate the steps that you took and where you are and why exactly you're stuck, because you have to value and respect other engineers' time. And when we would get stuck in class, Alan knew when he should push us to try further, and he helped us become more independent, which I really think was, even more than the syntax of a language or the structure of a framework. Just getting that confidence and understanding when to ask for help and how to ask for help is probably the more valuable piece I took away from Learn.
Yeah, learning how to ask good questions is really important. And I loved how you break it down, just the steps of getting somewhere, being able to explain that part of it. That part of, I don't remember who brought this up recently, but one of the reasons why Learn is called Learn is because of this philosophy of just teaching people how to learn. Mm-hmm. If I can teach you how to learn programming, how to learn to code, then you're going to be successful. The stack, the languages, the frameworks, the APIs are going to continue to change. But if we can teach you how to get there, how to ask those questions, then that's key.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and like you kind of mentioned, like software is a field where you have to constantly be learning. Like we're not using the same conventions that we were using 4 years ago. You know, things evolve that quickly, especially if you're doing JavaScript.
Which we've now shifted, and it's now a big part of our curriculum.
Right. The curriculum is completely different even than what we did when we were in school.
Which was smart.
Yeah.
Although I do have to say, we do still have some Gyron lectures in there just because they're close to our heart.